wonderful people, and also you get a dinner with the drinks. Okay, I mean, what a bargain. Okay, so this is a great organization or what? Okay, are you all familiar with TiE? How many people are not familiar with TiE? Wonderful. So I don't really have to say much. I just want to say welcome to all of you. But I'll just mention a couple things about TiE. It's kind of important to know. This is our 20th year that we started. TiE was started right here in Silicon Valley by a group of people who are entrepreneurs and professionals, and they say, gee, won't that be nice? We realize our American dream, and won't it be nice if we can form a society and help anybody who want to realize their American dream through entrepreneurship and through business. And so that has been TiE's sole mission since day one. It's all about fostering entrepreneurship. And in 20 short years, we have become one organization that is so well recognized. It has been, we've been often written, quoted in many publications. We are the largest organization, dedicated toward entrepreneurship. There is no such thing like that. There are many other organizations and they do a very good job, but when it comes to TiE is number one. TiE is the largest, TiE is the best. So I'm delighted that you're all part of this organization, and I'm very honored to be serving as the president of TiE, and I've been in TiE since inception. The other thing to know about TiE is that it is all volunteers. I'm a volunteer president, our program chair, Naveen Bish, the board, our core people, they're all volunteers. But the one other thing to remember about TiE is that it's a very simple thing we do. We look for people who are highly successful and also very generous at the same time. So success and generosity have to come together. So success as an entrepreneur, success as a businessman, success as a in a profession, or even success in academia. So we don't draw any line where the success comes from. But the good thing is success, is easily verifiable. We say I'm successful, I think we can very readily verify. But we really spend a lot of time trying to really find out, okay, but are you also generous? Do you really have time to give to this organization and help contribute rather than come and join and take something away from it? So that is the core criteria, and that constitutes the core of what we call TiE charter members. So many such charter members are in the audience, and if we can raise your hand, that'll be wonderful. I see Raja over there, I see Shyam Das over there, Naveen Bist over there. So these are the people, and these charter members, they serve as attractors. They attract anybody who is wants to be either an entrepreneur or want to succeed in business or profession. So we serve as attractors to those people, and then this combo gets further pulls what we call our sponsors. So these are the major venture capital firms, major law firms, major accounting firms, major corporations. They all serve as our sponsors. So all of the websites are all available, and that's how we support ourselves. And the finances are very simple. All the members, charter members, as well as regular members, they pay a very small dues. Charter members pay $1,500 a year. It's by invitation only. But the regular members, they pay 30 cents a day, which is like $100 a year. But because we are not equipped to process 30 cents increment, a daily rate, so we say, please pay us an annual fee of $100. Okay, so that's how the members pay $100, and then the sponsor, it depends whether you could be a program sponsor or annual sponsor or like even a TiEcon sponsor. So they will pay various amount of fees. So dues and fees are the only two sources of our income. We're a not-for-profit, so the idea is to not make profit and distribute to our shareholders, because all the profit we generate, we just invest back in the program, and so that's the key. Now, to run our daily affairs, we also have a very small staff. We have 300 some plus volunteers who help design all the programs and provide all services. But we have a small staff, staff of 4 people. Actually, Raj Desai, I just want to recognize him. He's our executive director. Raj has been involved with TiE since the beginning. He was executive director here before. He went to become executive TiE Global, and he's back again, serving in this role. And then we have the staff. If you saw, they greeted you at the registration desk, and they're hovering on the food line. So Shilpi is here. She was here earlier, now she's our marketing manager. Harini is in the back, and Patricia. So a staff of it's 4 people. So Raj is the executive director. So it's very, very. If we are a for-profit business, I think we'll put many businesses to shame. the way we run our operations. So you guys should just kind of make a note of that. So with that, I'm going to introduce our highly energetic program chair, Naveen Bisht. Naveen is just stay there for a second. Naveen is just serial entrepreneur. Naveen is just serial entrepreneur. He joined TiE as a member many years ago, and TiE just kind of grew on him. And he's a charter member, and he got elected to the board. And then we tasked Naveen, said, Naveen, please, handle all these programs. And Naveen has been in charge of all the programs. And just in the program, I just want to give you one other flavor of the programs. Whatever we do, there are only two things. If you look on your left hand, it's all about entrepreneurship. Inspire you, inform you, educate you, prepare you, and fund you. The second thing is, okay, where the opportunities are. So cloud, energy, social, mobile, life sciences. Very simple. So we kind of, get you going, but also we kind of, get you going in the right direction. And energy is one of the, really cutting edge in terms of, what we've been doing at TiE for the last now 5 years. And I'm just delighted that, we got such an eclectic body of, speakers over here. But Naveen has done an awesome job, putting this whole thing together and making sure every day, rationalizing every day, making sure that, we don't trip over each other in terms of our offerings for programs and services. So here's Naveen, and you're going to introduce everybody else, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Yeah.
Actually, I give you a round of applause. And outside, we saw a couple of our staff members. Mostly, like they said, we are all volunteers. We are always looking for volunteers, for our programs. If those who are here interested in energy sectors, in the in companies you're working and you want to be volunteer, please connect with me or the folks here. I'm really happy to take your help and services free of charge. I mean, we won't. So the only thing, by the way, I learned that sales trick about 10 fingers. Did you guys pick that up? I have to remember now. So I'm not going to take too much time. I know you guys we have an outstanding panel here. Just before that, I wanted to say just a few words for our co-chair, Armando Parker. And we have another co-chair, Gopal Garg. He's a vice president at SunPower. And Armando is general partner with Apex Venture Partners in Chicago. So really, he flew all the way down from Chicago over here to host this program. So let's give him a big round of applause. And so I really appreciate these co-chairs, again, they're volunteers. He's recruited a great panel here to be here to tell you about all the great things which are happening in energy, other than Facebook, of course, IPO. So we would just want to let you know that there are some hottest stuff which is going on in energy sector, real stuff. So they will talk about it. With that, I would like to turn it over to Armando, and thanks again for having this great panel over here.
Thank you everybody for coming here. Welcome. One thing that you should know is that if you're Naveen's friend, you will ultimately be working for TiE. So that's one thing I've learned. So I was recently talking to one of my partners, and we were talking about the energy sector or the clean tech sector, and the observation was made that it seems like we're at the trough of disillusionment. If everybody knows the hype cycle, that at the very beginning there's lots of expectations, and then the expectations don't get met. Then we go down to the bottom, and then everybody says, "Wow, the sector is terrible. Let's run. Things are really bad." And then somehow the sector comes back, and interesting thing happened. Especially because the next generation of people who get formed at the bottom learn from the first generation and all the mistakes that happen. So this is, if you look at many sectors, this hype cycle has been well documented, and it's true. So given that we are in that trough of disillusionment, where many people say, wow, energy maybe not be the place to be, and I think you can see that right now many people are really excited about mobile and social and other things, but what we have here is a number of entrepreneurs who have started new companies, very exciting new companies in many different sectors within the energy field, and they are excited about what they're doing. They've all attracted venture capital and been so I think it'll be very interesting for all of us to hear their stories, why they are excited about energy, what they're doing different. also. So those are the things we'll look at, and we'll discuss today. So maybe we can just start by having everybody in the panel introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their company. So Cliff, can you start?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I'm Cliff Fettersfield, a co-founder of Vigilant. Vigilant is an energy management company that combines state-of-the-art wireless mesh network sensing with smart software to manage the cooling assets in mission-critical facilities like data centers and telecom central offices. So the smart software is a combination of predictive, adaptive, and self-optimizing software that allows the software to do an expert job at providing the right temperature in these facilities, which is absolutely important for, you know, systems like Facebook's and everybody else's that run stuff in data centers to work, and doing so with the least amount of power. We claim among our customers NTT facilities, NTT being the biggest telecom company in Japan, and Verizon, one of the big telecoms, of course, in North America. And TiE Angels is one of our investors, and we're very happy to have their contribution. And Excel Partners is also one of our investors.
Cliff, can you talk about yourself, your background?
Sure. So I have a PhD from MIT, studying control engineering there. I spent 6 years doing R&D for Johnson Controls, which is one of the big facility management, energy management companies in this sector that we're in. After that, I was at Berkeley 4 or 5 years, managed a bunch of R&D projects there, and left there in 2004 to start what was the beginning of Vigilant. It started off as a consulting business, and I transformed it into the product business that it is today.
I'm different from an entrepreneur, so I'm different on this panel tonight. I'm from Moreland Partners, and we are a mergers and acquisitions advisory firm. So what I'm going to be doing is giving you a little bit of perspective from other sectors in high tech and lessons that we've learned. The first one I would tell you is that Armando is right about this trough of disillusionment. Sectors come out of it, and IT security is one of them. So that's the kind of comment I'll be making tonight. My background is, let's see, an MBA from UCLA before it was the Anderson School, and then about 25 years in industry, including 2 CEO-ships of venture-funded companies, and then went to the investment banking industry about 7 years ago.
Jim?
Okay, I'm Jim McCrae. I'm VP of Marketing at PowerAssure. We're located in Santa Clara. We also provide energy management software, cloud-based software for data centers. And we focus more on the IT side of the data center rather than the facility. But we bring together and aggregate, visualize, analyze, and automate data centers looking at both sides, both IT and facilities and data centers. And one of the things that really differentiates us from other companies is we also provide the capabilities for data centers to participate in the new and emerging energy markets on the smart grid. And data centers, believe me, are one of the biggest users of energy in the country and the world. My background is I'm a mechanical engineer from the University of Wisconsin in energy systems and renewables. I started my career at PG&E, running their commercial industrial energy efficiency programs, and was developing lots and lots of software to do energy analysis in buildings. I moved into the metering industry after that, and later joined a small company called Siebel Systems, who you may have heard about now with Oracle, but I created and ran Tom Siebel's energy and utilities and gas product vertical globally, created a multi-$100-million business in the late 90s and early 2000s. After that, I created a company called Green Building Studio, which did energy analysis for new funded by the DOE again. We got that company acquired by Pacific Controls earlier this year. I've been at PowerShare about a year, and it's a very exciting place to be. We've done 2 rounds of funding now. We were founded in 2007, where we did our Series B with investors like DFGA, ABB Ventures, Point Judith, Good Energies, and InQtel, which is the kind of VC and access arm for mere mortals like us to get into the intelligence agencies. So we're doing business with very large data centers. Our largest customer is NASA. Some of the companies I can't name follow that, and we have a number of high-tech companies here in the Bay Area.
Tom?
Hi, Tom Stepien, Primus Power. Primus is an energy storage company. Our system includes a battery. You've got to have a battery if you're going to store energy. Right, Alok? Alok knows. He works in energy all day long. And it also involves the systems in order to make the right decisions on when to store and when to release, right? If you can have energy storage, you can decouple the instantaneous demand and supply, right? These lights, right, this electricity is a millisecond old, and it has to be balanced. Somewhere PG&E is spinning something or burning something in order to provide the electricity, right? So we can change some of that, just like a warehouse changed food economics or gasoline economics. We can change the economics and efficiency and the environmental footprint of electricity if we do it right, at the right cost. So that's the energy storage bit. My background, I'm also a controls weenie from MIT. I'm not as smart as Cliff. I stopped after my master's. Cliff kept going. I always get on these panels and there's always better looking, smarter guys, but you know, that's kind of the story of my life. So Cliff is clearly the smarter guy here tonight. I was at the Applied Materials around the corner for about a decade or so. Applied makes semiconductor equipment, solar equipment, flat panel display equipment. It actually is in terms of transition to energies and energy field, and certainly big systems like we're building, right? We have big containerized systems. A lot of the skills you learn as an engineer or as a manager at companies like Applied are pretty transferable to other energy industries. So that's our story.
Hi, my name is Jasper Platz. I'm the co-founder of Genmon 10. I love the diversity of this panel because we do something that's completely different to all these other guys. We are a distributed energy company. We sell electricity to homeowners. It's really, you can think of us as an energy concierge. We try to match the right customer with the right technology, with the right financing mechanism to help our customers save as much money as possible. Right now, that's mostly solar. That's the most interesting energy generation asset right now for homeowners. In the future, it might be very different products. So far, we have about 2,000 customers in California, about 10 megawatts, and that puts us about in the top 5 in California in the solar industry. My background is non-technical at all. Our company is not a technical company. We're really trying to solve the problem of customer acquisition in this industry. It's a very complex product, complex financing mechanism, and trying to reach customers with these great products that make a lot of sense for a lot of homeowners. So my background is really from the business side. I'm an accountant by trade. I went to business school after that, where I co-founded Jason Brown, and we started the company Genmon 10 in 2009.
Now, one of the things that I noticed when I was talking to the panel is that not everybody comes from the energy field. So I'd like to have you guys comment. Do you have to? I mean, obviously Jasper doesn't, and Tom came from Applied, and then Jim and Clifford did. But do you need that background? I mean, do you have to be an energy weenie to start a company? Obviously you haven't, but you aren't. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, for us specifically, we don't have technology. We try specifically to stay technology agnostic and always take advantage of the best technologies out there for our customers. And I think that's been one of the biggest problems for the first wave of clean tech companies, that they bet the farm on one technology that then was superseded by something else that was cheaper. So we try to stay out of that, and therefore we don't need a technical business model, we don't need anybody who's really an expert in energy.
Tom, what do you think?
I think as companies grow, you're gonna likely be looking for, you'll move from people who are specialists to generalists, right? When we were about 3 years old, the first couple of hires were pretty darn critical, right? Because you had to find somebody who knew what they were doing and in the specific area where we needed to show progress in order to get the next round of funding and hit the milestones and all that. So we're pretty specific on what we're looking for. But again, a lot of the skills, and it was more skill-based, right? It's not necessarily domain experience, it's skill experience. So if you're a smart mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, power electronics, those are the type of skills we needed. Didn't necessarily have to be a battery weenie. So those are transferable. As you grow and you get to larger companies with real revenue, we don't have revenue yet, then you probably are interested in other types of skills, right? We hired our first business development person, and she has a background that lends itself to that. Her skills from McKinsey are very appropriate to us. So it's all about the skills match, and certainly companies will be looking for different skills as they grow.
What do you think, Jim?
Well, I think PowerAssure is an interesting story because PowerAssure was founded in 2007 by Clemens Pfeiffer, who was an automation guru and had an automation consulting company before that. And he tried to get it going and raise funding, and he just wasn't the one who was the spark. He's brilliant, he's a thought leader in the field, but he couldn't raise money. He brought in a CEO, Brad Wirtz, who was well connected in the Valley, knew how to raise money, had done it several times, and they've really built the company through two very good rounds of funding now over the past 2 years, and we now have the right partnerships in place with ABB and things like that to make things happen. However, they also recognize that our ultimate play is with energy, and I was actually the first person they brought in who knew anything about energy. Everybody else was a data center guru or a programmer. And
After how many employees?
we were like 40 employees when I got there. I've been there about a year now. I was brought in because I understood a key part of the business problem and had done enterprise software product marketing and global expansion. And then we recently brought in another energy expert who's an engineer who has built the energy market software applications globally, and from Singapore to Dublin, Ireland, to the east coast of the U.S., which has one of the most vibrant and detailed market where batteries and other things can participate in all kinds of electric products and literally monetize the energy markets for their customers. So I think as your companies grow, you start out with your core expertise, build it, make it fabulous, and then bring in the experts to round it out and make things happen and get the credibility you need in the markets you're talking to. This is all about credibility.
Cliff, do you have a perspective?
Yeah, so we operate in a section of the industry that is not single domain. So I think it's important for somebody at Vigilant to know something about the technologies that are important, so networking, especially wireless networking and software, but also something about energy and the machinery in the kind of facilities that we're in that consumes that energy. And without all of that, we really couldn't do what we do. And then of course you need other skills, like Tom was saying, people have to be able to do business development and raise money and all that kind of thing. But from a sort of technical point of view, what we do is not just a single domain, single technology kind of a thing. So we have to have expertise, on our technical staff in all of the areas that make up the system that we deliver to customers.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you don't have to be an energy expert to start an energy startup. So maybe we can start talking about one of the things that Jasper alluded to, what these companies, these founders have learned from the past. So one of the things that people are talking about is Clean Tech 2.0, and what does that mean? This is the next generation. If this is the next generation of startups, that means that there was a previous generation. What did we learn? So maybe we can start by going to Ann And one of the interesting things about Ann is that she is not from the energy domain, as she talked about earlier. She covers IT and many sectors in IT. And the reason I asked her to be on the panel is because I think it's important to broaden beyond just energy. Just start thinking, if I'm going to do an energy startup, I can't just think of energy, I should think of other things. So, Ann, can you tell us what you, from your perspective, from where you sit, how do you see the Clean Tech 2.0? How do you see this? What are your perspectives?
Well, one interesting thing is to think about the fact that we're even talking about Clean Tech 2.0. There are a number of cases in which we've seen that 2.0 does a whole lot better than generation 1.0. So when you think about web, that's another case of 2.0. When we think about security, it's another case of 2.0. We just see this over and over again, where the first generation almost gets it right, but perhaps the market isn't ready yet. The second generation may figure out how to be more capital efficient, or maybe building solutions that the market, a known market now, needs, rather than a technology in search of a market. So in this case, I guess I would be asking things like, did Clean Tech 1.0 address maybe there was a real need for some hardware sensors, and now the servers, for example, have the hardware sensors already built into them, so now we can turn more to the software alone. The panel knows this better than I.
Okay, maybe Jim, can you talk about maybe how would you define Clean Tech 2.0? What does it mean to you when you think about that as the next generation?
Okay. I think that it's really a move from, as Ann pointed out, from hardware to very nimble software companies that can make things happen quickly. They can test out new ideas. If it isn't right, they don't do it. They don't build a manufacturing plant and then get out-engineered by someone in another part of the world. They go at it. They go at it fast. They get it out in the market. They reiterate. They're nimble. They get it right, and they make things happen. Our companies are so nimble. The last 3 startups have changed based on. At one of them, we thought we were going to build a box that was going to communicate with the outside world and do monitoring. And after, all of a sudden, we realized these things were coming out from multiple vendors, and there was no reason for us to do that. We focused on software, and we were able to make things happen much faster. I think all of us now in the software world, we're moving to the cloud. Our company is totally cloud-based now, so we can deploy our software once and just flip customers on rather than going out and doing complex installs. It's really changing the way we do business, and it's going to be a very exciting world.
Tom, you're on the grid. How do you?
We're on the grid. And if you decide to be a hardware company, right, software companies will always be, by definition, more nimble than hardware companies. If you're going to have a strong hardware component, then I think some of what Ann said is absolutely critical. Asset-like capital efficiency is really important. We have decided not to build a factory. There are lots of folks who could put our system together here at San Jose, a lot of contract manufacturers. And oh, by the way, you can scale with them, right, because they have a footprint around the US, around the world, and we only, as a country, use 25% of the electricity in the world, so we want to serve, more than 25% of the market. So we're clearly going to go outside the US, and we'll do it with our contract manufacturer partner. So capital efficiency is key. You also have to have not just a short-term competitive advantage. You have to really think through and be able to articulate to your investors what your long-term competitive advantage is going to be. It was pretty easy to start a solar company in 2005, and the Valley here has a lot of them, and we all know the famous ones that are not here anymore. And those guys didn't make it because China came and whopped them on the side of the head, and they didn't have a sustained competitive advantage, right? Either a cost advantage or a technology advantage. So a lot of what we think about, and a lot of what, frankly, we get challenged on as we talk to potential new investors is, okay, good, I understand what you tell me, but how are you going to make sure you maintain that you, as a battery company, don't get whopped on the side of the head by BYD or another Chinese manufacturer? So Those would be the two themes, capital efficiency and a long-term, no kidding, show me the proof, competitive advantage.
Jasper, you're in the solar sector.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking a very different approach to the solar sector than all the hardware players that just sunk a lot of money in this. And I think, to me, the most fascinating developments that I've seen is that the whole sector dropped the whole green piece. Like everything has to do with green is just kind of relevant, I think. Like if you can, come to the market with a product that's cheaper or better, faster, whatever it might be, that we try and compete on, you might as well not try. I think trying to sell a product based on something that's green, I think it's not going to get a company very far. And we thought that's going to be a main motivator for our customers, and it really isn't. Most customers do this because they want to save money. After the fact, after they might have gone solar or whatever, or bought an electric vehicle, they might justify to their family and friends that they feel great about it because they're doing something great for the environment. But for any of these products, I feel from our side to go to the mass market and reach a mass audience, it's about providing a better alternative that saves people money. So I think I can just echo the capital efficiency. I think there's just no, the market opportunity is just as big as it was 3-5 years ago. Nobody's doubting that. Like the cost of solar come down so dramatically. That's because that's really the reason why all these companies are hurting. But it's good for the industry. That's where we need to go, right? But we got to do it with less money because they're, if you raise $200 million plus, maybe even billion, there are just no exits that right now in this market that can justify that kind of capital for any investor to make a return.
Cliff, what's your perspective? Keep one over here.
Well, I think that maybe a lesson learned from the Clean Tech 1.0 is that a sort of if you build it, they will come kind of mentality doesn't work, and we definitely didn't do that. We built a version 1 product on grant funding and lined up our first customers with utility rebates, and really got to the point where we had market validation before we had any investors at all. And I think that sort of being scrappier and, like you said, capital efficient, and like really proving out the business model and delivering a value proposition that is just a black and white ROI that a customer can look at and say, yep, that makes sense for me, as opposed to something where it's not going to pay back for many years, if ever, is just absolutely essential.
So it sounds like from hearing the panel that nimble, capital efficient is important. The being green by itself is not important. Customers really want just return on investment, dollars and cents. That's how they're making decisions. And do you see this as being same or different from the way an IT company goes to market, an IT startup goes to market?
Well, just to comment on the green aspect for a minute, I was thinking about another part of the high-tech industry when you talked about green going away. If you look at 2007, there were some companies that had analytics kinds of solutions, and typically they were part of business intelligence or BI solutions. And they did have to do with carbon impact, carbon trading, some form of green, and they had lots and lots of green written in their data sheets and so on. Wow, it's really even hard to find those on the web anymore, even though the web, of course, stores everything forever. So that really is a theme that we see throughout enterprise and IT and so on. Just in terms of the 2.0 notion, back to the 2.0 notion for a minute, we see over and over, as I was saying earlier, that having a real market is something that's very important. And in fact, I almost shudder when I talk with companies that are in very early stages of the IT industry, software industry in particular, in the web, in the 1.0 versions. I was at a conference, and right now the big data area is, of course, the hottest area. A few months ago it was cloud, and a few months before that it was virtualization and so on. So we can go back in history going through these waves over and over again. What one wants to be, I believe, is really, really a company with a great solution in the 1.0 era, when there is an eager buyer for that. In other words, when it's the beginning of the market, before the trough of disillusionment, way before that, when you can get attention being strategic. So it's called strategic because they think that you have great promise. If you're not in that, you probably have to go through the 1.0 era and then start again with the 2.0 era, because the 2.0 era is when the market is known.
Okay, so one of the things that you all have in common is that everybody here has attracted venture capital. And we're in the trough of disillusionment, you've still been able to attract venture capital. So maybe I'd like to hear the story about what did the investors see in you? Why at the time that social is hot, mobile, big data, cloud, all these things, why are investors still investing in your company? So I'd be interested in hearing that story. Tom, can you say what is it that Excel saw in you?
Sure. So investors tend to look at 3 or 4 things we've learned over the last 3 years as a company. First and foremost, you have to have something that is disruptive, technically, right? It can't be a Me Too product, right? No one is going to get another solar panel that's, 14% efficiency and cost more than $1 funded today, because that's pretty common. That's Me Too. So you have to have something that is disruptive, technically, and different. They're willing to invest in that. VCs want to see 10 times return. So if they give you $10 million, at some point they want $100 million out, right? So it's going to be a disruptive company that does that. That's not a normal company that does that. Not all those bets work out, right? Only about 2 in 10 work out those multiples, but they're big enough so that the funds keep going. And then there's a whole bunch of guys in the middle, and then several of the companies flame out over time. So that's kind of how the VC math works. So disruptive, number 1. I think they look for an experienced team, right? This needs to be people who've either done it before or had success, like Jim here, a number of different startups, so you can go and I did this, like holy moly, this guy knows what he's doing, right? So yeah, we'll fund him. So a team is a big part of it. I think they also want a big market, right? So rather than a small, I'm going to do this, they would rather have a several billion, double-digit billion market. Energy, by the way, is just a huge market. You have to decompose that in all the different pieces. But a big market compared to a smaller market means that companies can make mistakes. Companies pivot, they change their strategies over time, and well, I'm in here, but it doesn't quite work, so I'm going to go left or right. So you can do that in a big market. If you're in a small market, it's a little bit tougher to do that. So disruptive technology, great team, big market.
Tom, how does that apply to Primus? I mean, so those are truisms for why investors invest in any given company, but why Primus and why your team? Why you guys?
Why Primus? So we think we have a disruptive technology, right? We think we can give you the decoupling that I spoke of earlier, better, longer life, and at a lower cost than anyone else out there. And as far as we think, right, if you look at everyone else and kind of figure out where they're going, we think it truly can be disruptive. That we can do this in a way where it's actually cheaper to store electrons, because we're just storing electrons, we're warehousing electrons. It's cheaper to store electrons than it is to make electrons, right? So if we can really do that, that can change the game. It's a huge market. Right? There's estimates ranging from $20 billion in 2020 timeframe, so in 8 years, at the low end, to one that I saw from some South Korean guys the other day, $170 billion. Those are huge numbers, right? The semiconductor industry is around $300 billion, right? And think of the Intels and TSMCs and Samsungs of the world. These are huge companies, right? That's a $300 business. Storage alone could be half of that in 8 years, if you believe our South Korean friends. And then the team, we have people who have experience. We have people who have done some batteries like this before. The team is improving all the time. So that was how we measured up.
Jasper, you attracted funding from Kleiner. what they see in you, you're not a technology company, and you're in solar.
Yeah.
You're in solar and you have no technology.
I
And
hope
yet
I hope they don't wake up and realize they made a mistake on that.
what were they investing in?
I think Tom already mentioned a couple of points, but I think the market opportunity, how big it is, that's interesting to them. I think the problem that we're focusing on trying to solve is very interesting to them. It fit into their overall strategy about how this market is going to play out. So we start talking to them. We didn't know it at the time, but it was just hitting the right spot for them. They realized that they've looked at this market for a long time, trying to place different chips, and we just really hit the right spot in terms of what we're trying to solve. And the last piece I think is always the team. I think if they there's so many problems that an entrepreneur gets thrown at on a day-to-day basis that you can't foresee, you can't put in any business plan. If you don't have a team that can quickly react to make the right decisions, and it's very difficult to win. So I think any investor has to have a very good feeling of trust in the guys around the company making the right decisions as adversity hits as well.
But Jasper, you were in an MBA school. You had just graduated from MBA school, and I don't know how many other people here know, but MBA, and you didn't come from the energy. You don't come from energy. You don't have technology. You're in solar, and you just graduated from MBA school, and people still invested in you. What is it about you and the team?
So I think
the special cookies that he hands out.
So I think that, especially at the early stages, my co-founder does bring a very interesting skill set to our business that is critical to our success, and that's scaling Salesforce and implementing sales, because that's a critical piece of this business, right? Like, we believe that this product and some of the products that we're looking to implement in the next 3 to 5 years, they're very complex sales. Not somebody will just go online and click a button on Amazon and get their solar system or EV or whatever shipped to their home, right? It's complex sales, so we believe that there is the human touch that's needed. So we build in scale Salesforce, and that's not easy. There are a lot of problems. It's a human machine you're trying to build. So my co-founder does have a background in that and has done it successfully. And even though it's not we're trying to solve a common problem that happens to be in the energy industry, right? So the energy knowledge wasn't necessary. Scaling Salesforce was very important to us, and Jason brought it to us.
Cliff, how about you? What did investors see in you?
Well, by the time we got the interest of Excel, we already had a proven product. So what our product does is very technical, very difficult to do. So we had the proof point that it actually did work. It wasn't a science project. We had both NTT and Verizon already in the bag as customers. So again, it's it's a humongous market. So I think they could just sort of like go down and check all the boxes. We also had and still do have a great team. Led by Mark Housley, our CEO. Mark's got a ton of experience in the Valley and a bunch of different high-tech companies, and pretty much the entire rest of the team was completely filled out with experienced people. So, I think it made sense.
So it sounds like you were further along. What you did is you built proof points. You already had customers. You were further along than just a raw startup getting their first customer.
Right. Yeah. I think it would have been very hard for us, if we had just said, "Here's what we're going to do. Give us money." If we hadn't done any of the things that we had already done.
Jim, how about how did PowerSure attract venture capital?
Okay, I was around last fall when we did our B round, and I thought it was fascinating. The experience that we had DFJ and Point Judith and Good Energy investing in our first round. And when we went for the second round, they all said they wanted in, but ABB came into the picture. Now, ABB's kind of like GE or Siemens or the very large electrical components companies that sells everything you would ever put in a data center except for computers. They sell breakers and switches and batteries and UPSs and all that stuff. But they didn't have a data center offering. They've now built a data center offering around our product as one of the corner pieces. It's called Decathlon. They're in the market with it. They're taking Schneider and Emerson and others on head-to-head with it. And so they saw it as leverage. So they went in, are probably the largest investor now. InQtel saw it the same way for the intelligence community, bringing us in there. And finally, the utility companies, believe it or not, we're getting offers of funding from the energy companies. Dominion Energy out in Virginia, they're on the regulated side, invested $1 million in our BRUM because they see data centers as a critical load and they want to use our software to manage the relationship and get control of the IT side of the data centers. And several other energy companies we had to turn away. We basically had more companies wanting to subscribe to our BRUM than we knew what to do with. We had to make some hard choices because they were big names in the world of energy. So there's funding out there, that's for sure.
So it seems that strategics will come in if the product is proven and it's further along.
And it fits their view of where the world and the market's going. And data centers are growing at 20% a year. And in the case of Dominion, represent 10% of their system load, which is huge.
And you see many startups in the IT sector. Can you comment on these stories and the experiences of these founders are with your experience in the IT side?
I was trying not to let my jaw drop because I was waiting to hear about customers prior to anybody getting funded, and I had to wait for Cliff to say that he had customers before he got funding. And of course, you had taken different forms of funding, not VC funding prior to build this. But that is a big difference. In the software industry today, I do not hear stories very often at all about getting funding without getting customers. And in fact, I hear very specific stories about you need to get this many customers or you need to get this run rate of revenue, and you know, there is really a very prescribed view typically by venture capital investors right now in terms of what proof points a company needs prior to even a Series A in most cases today.
So let's shift from the attraction of capital to exits. So, and I think that's got to be another part of, and nobody talked about that as we talked about it in kind of tangentially in terms of market size. You know, big markets should imply a big exit, but you know, and clean tech hasn't had any big exits, and I think that's one of the issues, that's why we're in this trough of disillusionment. From your perspective, what's happening on the exit side? What has to happen? You're certainly really on the M&A side, and you see it really on the late stage.
So there were one problem with being a banker is one always wants to say it depends, which is the most tiring answer in the world. So let me give you some examples. First of all, what we see often in the IT security and the IT software segment is that we see some early exits. So the one that most people can really relate to around here is in virtualization. It's very well known that VMware buys companies that are very early stage. They buy them for a nice multiple, a very nice multiple in fact, and they buy them often for tens of millions of dollars on maybe 2 million of revenue. They're buying very early stage companies for strategic value in that case. That's not typical. That is something that's wonderful that happens in an occasional sector with an occasional company, but VMware does it more often than most companies do by far. What is more typical is that a particular segment of a sector will be something that turns out to be very much needed. So that could be, for example, in the security sector. It was at a particular point in time, it was data loss prevention. All of a sudden, companies like Provilla were being bought. They didn't necessarily have a ton of customers. There was a company that called Versa that SAP had funded, and then SAP ended up buying because SAP had so many customers with it. So we saw a little segment of the security industry all of a sudden being very hot. That's a little bit more typical of what happens with mergers and acquisitions. But when that happens, there are also patterns that we'll go into later about this. One thing that strikes me about this segment is that one would think that perhaps exits would follow, perhaps in a period of years, the venture capital investment that's gone into a sector. And that has not happened, as Armando said, that has not yet happened in this sector. So I looked at other sectors in the IT industry. I looked at security, virtualization, big data, a couple of others. And I tried to figure out, is there a strong correlation between venture capital investment as a sum of dollars year by year, and then the exit, even the multiples? Or also, if we look at just the last funding that a particular company got and track just that way year by year. And a statistician